Brian had always dreamed of a better life. Growing up in a small village, he witnessed the struggles of his mother, who worked tirelessly to provide for him with the little income she earned from her small business. With determination and hard work, Brian excelled in school and eventually earned a scholarship into a prestigious university. He made sure to find a part-time job to take care of himself. After graduating, he launched a small tech startup that skyrocketed into popularity within a short period, catapulting him into wealth and success. With a triumphant smile, Brian often recalled the long nights he spent coding, now seeing them pay off. Once Brian had established himself and ensured everything was stable, he thought of bringing his mother to the bustling city. He wanted her to enjoy the fruits of his labor, live comfortably and experience the luxuries he had worked so hard for. Until then, he would send her money for her upkeep and talk to her through his uncle because his mother didn't know how to use a phone yet. As he was setting things up for his mother's stay, he spoke to his girlfriend Sally about it, but she had mixed feelings. She didn't know if she was happy about it. She had always heard how mother-in-laws treated their daughter-in-laws, and she didn't want that for herself. Though conflicted, she never once related her feelings to Brian, maintaining a neutral expression whenever they discussed about it. Just as everything was perfected for Brian's mother's stay, he received a call to attend an urgent business meeting overseas and had to leave for 2 months. He would have loved to stay and help his mother get comfortable in the city, but the meeting would be a turning point for his business and couldn't be delayed. He was anxious, pacing around his office, but since his driver knew the way to their village, he decided to send him to bring her. He called his uncle and informed him about it. The next day, Brian traveled abroad, making sure to enlighten Sally about his mother. 2 days later, Brian's driver went to pick her up and brought her to the city. When they arrived, Sally wasn't home, so the driver took her inside along with her bags. A few hours later, Sally returned and saw an old woman dressed in worn-out clothes sitting on the couch. "Hey!" Sally beckoned on her. "What are you doing here?" she shouted, her brows furrowing in confusion. "I am expecting a visitor, and I don't want you to spoil my chance of a first good impression," she said, gesturing dramatically. She led her into the smallest room in the house with her bags. "Who is she, Cynthia?" Sally's friend asked. "Girl, I don't know, but I think she is the new maid Brian hired for me. You know, I told him it's stressful for me to do all these house chores, so I think she is the one," Sally replied. "But why would he hire an old maid? Why not a younger one?" Cynthia asked again. "My dear, I don't want to share my man with any woman. I think I actually prefer the old maid," she said, laughing. They stayed in the living room to watch the movie while they waited for Brian's mother to come. The day was almost over and she still had not arrived. She wanted to call a driver that was appointed to bring Brian's mother, but she didn't have his number since she didn't have any business with him. She tried calling Brian, but his number was not connecting. She then remembered the maid. She still hadn't come to ask about her job description. She went into the room and discovered that the woman was sleeping. Sally called and called, but it seemed the woman was in a deep sleep. Frustrated, she went over and nudged her on the back, startling her awake. "You haven't even done anything and here you are sleeping like a log of wood," "Stand up and make me dinner," she said, her voice rising. But the woman just looked at her in confusion. "I said, make me dinner," she shouted again. The woman stood up but remained in her initial position. Good Lord, is she deaf or just stupid? Sally muttered under her breath. Why, Brian? Why would you do this to me? She lamented aloud, dragging the woman into the kitchen and telling her to cook, even giving her a deadline. Even after the time, the woman was standing in the kitchen looking around strangely. When Sally returned, she was shocked to find her still standing there. Jesus Christ, this woman is so dumb, she exclaimed, storming out of the kitchen. Unknown to her, the woman was greatly overwhelmed by everything. She had never been to the city or even entered a house so big and nice, and she didn't understand any of what Sally was asking her to do. She only understood her native language. Sally ordered herself some food and left her to starve. The woman was so hungry that night that she walked around the house looking for food. And when she tried to make something, she almost burned the house down. Sally came out and shouted at her, but the woman understood nothing. Her eyes wide with fear, she began to shiver, looking for anything familiar to hold on to, but found nothing. Sally went back into her room and tried calling Brian again, but his number was still not connecting. Brian had lost his phone and all his contacts were on that phone. He didn't think much of it because his driver had messaged him that his mother was in the city before his phone got lost. Meanwhile, Brian was away, immersed in meetings and negotiations, oblivious to the misunderstanding unfolding at home. He believed that leaving his mother with Sally was the best decision, trusting that their bond would deepen. The next day, Sally still waited for Brian's mother to come, but she still was not there. She called her friend Cynthia, who asked about her soon-to-be mother-in-law. Girl, she's not here yet. I don't even know if she would come, or maybe she changed her mind. Honestly, I'm not sure that she's coming to stay with us. It would be better if she didn't come. You know, I have always said I don't want a mother-in-law. I prefer men who have no parents. But you know, Brian is a big catch. I can't just leave him, she said. Sally, be careful of what you say, Cynthia cautioned. I know what I am saying. I hate how his mother can change his mind about me, and he would listen to her, Sally said. And the old maid, she's worse than anyone I have ever seen or worked with. You know she almost burned down the house last night. Maybe she was hungry. What did you give her to eat last night? Cynthia asked. Give her what? Isn't she supposed to give me something to eat? Why would I give her something to eat? She asked. Wait, Sally. Are you sure the woman in that house is not Brian's mother? Because she was supposed to come yesterday, Cynthia asked. I don't think so. Brian is rich, and if he is rich, it will also extend to his mother. You see, that woman, she's like a beggar, and my Brian's mother can't be like that, she said confidently. Okay, Sally, I only hope you're not making a mistake, Cynthia said as she talked about random things before ending the call. Sally had turned the woman into a maid. She would sweep, wash, mop, and do other things around the house except cook. Sally would always order food and give the leftover to the woman, which in the end would not be enough for her. Some days the woman would cry, thinking about her son, wondering if she was brought to the wrong house. She didn't know anyone or how to communicate either, because no one would understand her. She really wanted to go back to the village, but she didn't know how to return because the distance was very far from the city. One evening, Sally was dressing up to go out for a party when she saw her favorite pink dress had been damaged by a bleach. "This stupid old woman! I have had enough of you. You are leaving this house today," she screamed out of frustration. She walked towards the old woman's room, her strides long and determined. She packed her bags, held her hand, and pushed her outside the gate, throwing her bags on the ground. The woman cried again, pain and confusion in her heart, sorrow etched on her face. She sat by the gate waiting for her son, but unfortunately it started to rain. The woman had to find a place to shelter herself from the downpour. She walked along the road but saw no one to help her, as everyone was running towards their houses, assuming she was running towards hers as well. The woman soon found an unfinished building far from the house. She entered inside, and since she was drenched from the rain, she changed her clothes. She spread her wrapper on the ground and lay down, hoping tomorrow would be a better day. Unexpectedly, Brian was able to get his phone back because the person who picked it up was kind enough to return it. Eager to know about his mother's well-being, Brian immediately called Sally. "Hello, baby," came her seductive voice from the other side. "It's been a week and I haven't heard from you," she said. "Oh, my love, I am so sorry. You know, I lost my phone, so I tried messaging you on your Facebook account, but you weren't replying. Anyway, the person who picked up my phone was kind enough to return it. So how are you and Mama?" he asked, pacing slightly as he spoke. "Oh, I'm sorry, babe. You know, I don't usually go on Facebook, and even if I'm there, I don't really chat with strange accounts," she said. "I am good, but your mother still had not arrived like we expected." Brian felt a sudden pang of worry. "What do you mean? For the past 1 week, my mother had not been with you. So where is she?" he asked, his voice rising with concern. "If you ask me, now who I go ask?" she sang playfully. "Will you stop joking around? This is serious. Where is she? John told me he left her in the house. And now you are saying she's not there. So where is she?" Brian said, getting agitated. "Babe, calm down. Could it be that after John left the house, she went out on her own?" Sally asked. "That I don't know. But my mother is not one to walk around places she's not well acquainted with," Brian said. "But why didn't you tell me earlier?" he asked, running his hand through his hair in frustration. "How would I do that when you just told me your phone got lost? Please, don't put the blame on me," she countered, crossing her arms defensively. "I'm not blaming you. I am just deeply worried. Where could she be for the last 1 week?" he asked. "What about John? Did you meet or call him?" he asked. "No, babe, I didn't see him, and I didn't call him because I don't have his number," she said. "You know what? I will send you my mother's picture. Then I want you to go to the police station and report her as a missing person," he said. "Babe, I don't know if I can do that," Sally said hesitantly. "What do you even mean by that? You cannot help me make a police report about your soon-to-be mother-in-law. How selfish can you be?" he thundered. "What's so hard about this? I am not family yet. She's not my mother-in-law yet, and you want me to take this big step? I don't want to concern myself with any police case," she said. "Sally, I am so disappointed in you," he shouted. "Say all you want, but I am not going. I will call you when you are in a better frame of mind," she said as she ended the call abruptly. "I have never been to the police station for anyone or anything, and yet you want me to go for your mother. She can die for all I care," she fumed to herself. "What? Did Sally just end the call? Brian said, shocked and not believing it. Such a selfish human being, he said again. He tried to call John, but his number was switched off. So he called his uncle, who picked up after a first ring. Brian explained the situation to him, and within minutes his uncle headed to the police station in their state to make a police report. Sally was still fuming when Cynthia called her. Hello, Sally. Have you seen the news? Cynthia asked. What news? Honestly, I'm in no mood for any entertainment at the moment, she said with a loud voice. Hey, what's the problem? Cynthia asked with a concerned voice as Sally explained everything to her. Sally, I think you should be in the mood. You need to see this, Cynthia said, sending her something on her phone. Sally's eyes widened, realization dawning upon her. What? So that old woman was his mother. Oh my God, what have I done? Sally said with shock all over her face as regret washed through her. Sally, what did you do? Cynthia asked. Oh no, no, no! Cynthia, I pushed her out of the house days ago. I didn't know she was his mother, Sally said, panicking. Sally, this is bad. But remember, I warned you. I warned you to be careful. But you insisted that you were so sure she was the new maid. Now see what you have done. If Brian finds out his mother had suffered in your hands, and you were the one who eventually kicked her out of the house, just imagine what he would do. Honestly, I wish you all the luck because you will really need it, Cynthia said. Cynthia, please help me and let's look for her, Sally said, already crying. I thought you said you didn't want to involve yourself with the police, Cynthia questioned her. I knew what I said, and now I regret it. Please help me, she cried. I cannot lose Brian. He is my last ticket to a luxurious life. You really have not learned your lesson. You are still thinking about a good life. Find the woman first, the woman you threw out of her son's house because of nothing. By the way, I'm at work. I will see you by weekend, Cynthia said, ending the call. Cynthia worked a 9-to-5 job in a clothing company and didn't get home until 7 p.m. Although she really wanted to help her friend, but she couldn't risk losing her job. Brian had already called as many people as he could, and many bloggers carried the news. The popular CEO, Brian Mba, of CC Tech Company, had reported his mother missing since August 19. The police are on the search for her as we speak, and a prize of 10 million naira awaits anyone who is able to find her, read the journalist from the television. Hey God, what will I do now? Sally panicked. She immediately called Brian, who picked up but didn't say anything. Baby, I am so sorry. I was just overwhelmed with everything. I will go to the police and search for her, she said meekly. It's okay, Sally. You know I love you, and even though we are not yet married, I see you as family, and I hope you treat my mother as family too, he said. I understand. When I finish at the police station, I will let you know, she said. I love you, Brian said, and Sally replied that she loved him too. Sally drove to the police station and made a police report, but she was still not satisfied. You see why I hate mother-in-laws? I am not even married into the family, but there she is, already putting me through hell, Sally said as she walked the streets searching for her. But then again, if that woman could talk, she would tell her son all about what I did to her. But I am sure she's dumb. She didn't even say a word to me all the time she stayed at the house. Anyways, that works well for me, she smiled. Mama kept on working from one place to another, looking for food. She even left her bag since they were too heavy for her to carry. She only carried a few clothes that she used for sleeping. A few days later, Brian returned home. His business associates gave him some time to look for his mother when he told them the news. When he arrived home, Sally was sitting on the couch, going through her phone. "Hey, baby," Sally called out nervously. "You didn't tell me you would be returning today." "Yeah, it was impromptu. I need to find my mother," he said, walking into the room. "I wish she would just die and leave us alone," she muttered under her breath. He went into the room he had prepared for his mother. "Mama, where are you?" he asked softly. "Anywhere you are, please be safe," he said, taking a deep breath. He soon went to the police station to inquire about the search, but the police had not gotten any lead. He went home feeling tired and exhausted. He only wanted his mother to have a good life. She had suffered alone to care for him after his father died, and now he could not find her. A part of him even preferred if she was kidnapped. He was willing to pay any ransom to free his mother. He was going crazy, not knowing where she was. He suddenly felt thirsty, so he went to the kitchen to get some water. There, he found some food items on the ground. Some gari, plantains, yam, apple, abacha, and other local foodstuffs. "What is this?" he asked himself. "Only one person apart from me would bring this into this house." "Sally!" he called, and she came rushing. "Sally, what is this?" he asked, through gritted teeth. She hadn't completely hidden her tracks. You see," she stuttered. "What is Suddenly you can't talk?" he asked, his voice rising higher. "I bought them," she said. "Sally, all I need is the truth. And if you lied to me one more time, you will not like the consequences," he said, his eyes cold and devoid of any warmth. "You and I know that you did not buy these things. You have never gone grocery shopping since you came to live with me, and you have never cooked. So how come you bought all these?" he asked, smiling without humor. You see, she stuttered continuously. "Choose your next word carefully," he said, pinning her on the wall, his gaze fierce. "I am sorry, Brian. Yes, your mother was here, and I thought she was a maid. The maid we talked about. She was not behaving nicely, so I sent her out," she confessed, trembling slightly. As she continued, Brian's gaze darkened with anger. All he wanted to do was strangle her to death. He really wanted to show her how deep his anger ran. But he had never laid a hand on a woman and had promised himself never to do so. He stormed out of the house, walking in the street, asking people about his mother while showing them her picture. Some of them agreed they had seen her days ago, which could only mean she had drifted far away. The thought of never seeing her again caused him great pain. "Maybe she's dead," his subconscious suggested. "No, no!" He fell to the ground, shouting in the middle of the road as people watched him in pain. That was when a car stopped beside him, and a young woman got out. She came and gently helped him up, and he willingly followed her without asking any questions. As the woman drove, she occasionally spared him glances from the side of her eye. He seemed broken, but she knew that he would be okay. When they arrived at her gate, she opened it and drove into the house. She got out, and so did he. "I need something strong," he told her, and she just smiled. They went inside, and he sat on her couch, waiting. When he saw his mother come out of the house, His heart leaped. "Mama," he called. She ran into his embrace as they hugged each other tightly, tears streaming down their cheek. "Oh, Nemoma," he cried. The young woman, who happened to be Cynthia, watched them in fascination. She could tell that the love for his mother was strong. She smiled as both of them hugged, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction at having helped reunite them. The mother and son sat down as his mother narrated everything to him in their native language. Brian promised to treat Sally accordingly. He thanked Cynthia and even offered her some money, but she declined. Apparently, when Sally had told Cynthia about what she had done, Cynthia immediately left for the streets to look for Brian's mother. And as luck would have it, she didn't have to search for long. She considered telling Sally, but she knew her to be a very selfish person, fearing Sally might harm the woman and blame it on something else. Cynthia decided to keep Brian's mother at her house and take care of her until Brian got back. Brian was so happy. He felt a huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Cynthia dropped them off at Brian's house and went back to hers. As soon as they opened the gate, Sally approached Mama with an apology on her lip. "I'm sorry, Mama. I am really so sorry. I didn't see you as you truly are. Can we start over?" she said with a forced smile. "Never. Go in there, pack your things and leave this house," Brian said, as Mama looked at Sally with a weird expression. "Brian, baby, I said I am sorry. I didn't know she was your mother," Sally pleaded. "And so what? So if you knew she was my mother, you would have acted nice? Such a shame. And I think I trusted you to treat her well. Instead, you chose to judge her just by her appearance. Look here, I really do not like to repeat myself. You, of all people, should know that. I am giving you 30 minutes, he said, as he walked with his mother into the house. Sally was already crying, but Brian shut her out. He didn't want to hear any complaints. She went inside, packed her bags and left the house, hoping that Brian would call her back and profess his love to her, but it never happened. She called Cynthia to accommodate her for the night and explain what had happened. "You know, Brian chose his mother over me. That old witch," Sally said bitterly. "Oh, he found her. Wow, thank God. But you knew I warned you. Put yourself in his shoes and see things from his perspective. You really went to the extreme, and I don't blame him. If it was me, I would have locked you in jail," Cynthia said. "By the way, you cannot stay at my house, but I will send you some money to stay in a hotel. Then you are on your own," she said, ending the call. "That witch," Sally fumed. She stayed in a hotel, waiting to see if Brian would call, but he still didn't. Did he really love me at all? How can he say he loves me and yet cannot forgive me? "Brian, it is me and you forever," she said. Every day, she would go to the house to look for Brian, but he wouldn't agree to see her. She was running short of funds and needed to get back into Brian's life. Each day was the same as the last, but she still didn't give up. Brian was doing some grocery shopping when he saw Cynthia and a young woman whose beauty was striking. He could tell they were siblings because they shared a close resemblance. "Hello, Cynthia," Brian greeted her. "Hey, Brian, it's been a while. How are you and Mama?" she asked. "We are fine, thank you," he replied, smiling. "Oh, pardon my manners. This is my sister, Diana. She came to stay with me since my husband traveled. The house had been a bit lonely," Cynthia said, smiling. "And Diana, this is Brian." "Hi, Diana," Brian said as he shook her hand. It felt soft against his. as he caressed it gently. Diana blushed and greeted him too. "You are so beautiful," Brian said, smiling, as she bowed her head shyly. "Thank you," she replied. Cynthia watched the two with bright eyes, and she cleared her throat, bringing their attention back to her. "Cynthia, I will see you again, and do take care of yourself, Diana," he said as he left them. Diana was not one to get swayed easily, but with Brian it was different. She caught herself smiling. His eyes held so much emotion for the short time she looked into them. She could tell he was really attracted to her, and she was attracted to him too. "Hey, what just happened?" Cynthia asked with a teasing grin. "I don't know what you're talking about," Diana said as they continued shopping. As Brian drove away from the mall, a smile stretched across his face as he remembered the innocent look on Diana's face. He liked her and planned on pursuing her, but at the same time, he wanted to clear things up with Sally. The next time Sally came over, he allowed her into the house because he wanted to talk. "Brian, I know you still love me, and you were just angry. I am really sorry. I really want us to go back to how we used to be," she said, trying to touch him, but he avoided her. "See, Sally, the only reason I allowed you into my house is not to rekindle whatever we had, but to make sure we part on good terms. That's to say we are over. I am no longer interested in this relationship. Before you say anything, I watched the CCTV footage. I don't need to say more. You know it all," he said. "Oh no, Sally, you really messed up," she thought to herself. "I have changed. Please believe me," she begged. "I don't know what happened between you and your mom to make you hate mothers, but you need help," he said. "I will transfer some money to you to help you set up yourself. I think with this I have tried. Have a good life, Sally." "No, Brian, you promised me forever," she cried. "It's me and you forever. I love you, Brian," she pleaded. "Love is not enough," he said, as he gently but firmly held her out and shut the gate. 2 months later, Brian was just walking out of his office when he saw Diana dressed in a white floral gown with her hair in a ponytail, just the way he liked it. She looked so simple, yet so beautiful. Indeed, less is more, he muttered to himself. "Hey, Diana, it's been a while. How are you?" he asked. "Yes, Brian, I am fine. I have just been busy with schoolwork," she replied, smiling. "So what are you doing here?" he asked. "I'm here for my internship," she said. "Oh, you are among the new interns? Wow. Welcome to my company," he said, smiling. "Thank you," she replied. "So I will see you around?" he asked. "Sure." From that day onward, Diana and Brian spent more time together. They would go out for lunch, and soon Brian asked her to go out on a date with him. Fast forward to 3 months later, they were in a relationship, and Brian introduced her to his mother. Seeing his mother's likeness towards Diana, Brian ensured the both women spent time together, enjoying the city. They explored parks, visited art galleries, and savored meals at the finest restaurants. This brought Brian immense joy, seeing his two favorite women bond together. As their bond deepened, Brian and Diana found joy and comfort in each other's arms. But that joy soon dampened when Diana received a strange message warning her to stay away from Brian. She overlooked it, but at some point it was no longer funny. She talked to Brian about it, and he assured her he would keep her safe. One evening, she came out to put the trash in the garbage bin when she saw a hooded figure, rushed towards her and poured something on her, targeting her face. but she was quick enough to use the garbage bin as a shield, her heart racing loudly in her chest. As the hooded figure ran away, it was hit by a car coming from the other side of the road. People rushed out of their houses and shops due to the loud screeching sound of the car. Brian was one of those who came out to find Diana crying on the ground while muttering "Thank you, Lord" repeatedly. Brian ran towards her and hugged her tightly. "What happened, honey?" he asked. "Someone tried to attack me," she said, pointing at the hooded figure. Due to the fall, the cap the person was wearing fell from its head, revealing Sally. Brian immediately called the police and she was arrested. Diana and Brian visited the hospital to check if she was okay, and the doctor confirmed that she was fine. Sally was charged to court and pleaded guilty to her crime. She was given 15 years in prison, deserving for that crime. A few months later, Brian and Diana got married on a beautiful island with a few family members and friends in attendance, witnessing the love they share. In the end, their relationship evolved into a beautiful tapestry of love and respect. Brian had not only built a life of wealth, but had also created a home filled with love, acceptance, and laughter. One that honored the past while looking forward to the future. Who you are when no one is watching matters a lot. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. I would really like to hear from you guys. See you in our next one. Bye.